Week 3 of EDS and HSD Awareness Month 2023. I'm Jeannie DeBon and thank you for joining me again this week. Hopefully you've been here for the other 2 weeks as well, the previous 2 Thursdays. I hope you've enjoyed those classes. So we've started off with wake up. Last week was energize. Today is fatigue. And next week is sleep. So I kind of feel like we're going through my daily activities. It's kind of wake up, have a bit of energy, do stuff, afternoon, fatigue, and to bed, and repeat. So we're kind of going through the cycle here. So welcome everyone, give me a little wave, let me know who's here. Hi Heather, lovely, thank you for joining me. So great for you to all come along, I really appreciate it. So today is going to be a gentle class for fatigue. So in preparation for today's class, I was doing some research into fatigue and EDS, and I found 2 research papers. Hi Trisha, hi Nikki, lovely to see you. So I found one paper which is from 2010, so it's a little bit old now. And I found one paper from 2017, which was involved Dr. Hakim, who many of us know here in the UK. And obviously, I think probably most of you know from his work with the EDS Society. Oh, welcome Hilary, lovely to see you. Hi everyone. Yeah, keep the messages coming in. Let us know where you're calling in from. It's always great to see what an international community we are. Hi Laura. So, first of all, I mean, I'd love if we had like a thumbs up, but they don't do that on YouTube, I don't think. How many of us suffer with fatigue on a daily basis? And I know it's a sliding scale, and some of us have mild fatigue. Some of us are, severely affected by, lots of people saying me, yes. Lots of people are really, really affected by the fatigue. So I wanted to do a little bit of research into it, and just to see, first of all, if you do suffer from fatigue, you're not alone. So according to this research, it is, as this paper said, a frequent and clinically significant problem in EDS. So it's real, it's, I would imagine so many of us have it. I have it, and I know so many of my clients have it, and members in the Zebra Club have it, and you're all saying, yes, you have it. So in this small little poll, you can see that it is a big problem, a significant problem. And, when we did our research into my Strengthen Your Hypermobile Core 5-lesson program with Dr. Russick and Jane Simmons, pain, we expected pain to be the #1 issue, that people were unable to exercise regularly, but actually it was pain and fatigue. So fatigue was way up there with pain. We were, that was a really interesting finding. So I think it's really important that as clinicians, as health professionals, working with people with EDS, that we do respect and appreciate that people have fatigue, and we have to accommodate that and make sure we're working in a way that recognises that people have fatigue and it's a real thing. So let's just start. So we'll do a little bit of education, and then as always we'll do our lovely movement together. But this was a paper, as I said, it's a little bit old now, but I still think it's relevant. Just because it's from 2010, it's still relevant. And this was a study of 273 EDS patients. It was a questionnaire. And they were asking about different things like physical activity, sleep disturbances, social functioning, things like that. Now from their results, more than 3/4 of the EDS patients they surveyed had severe fatigue, okay? Now they identified through this questionnaire what they considered 5 possible determinants involved in creating that fatigue. Which were sleep disturbances. So if you're not sleeping, and that's what we're covering next week, sleep. I spy your new plant. Yes, those of you who are tuning in, I'm really upset because I, I posted about my new plant, there he is in the background, and he was supposed to come with a zebra pot, and I was so excited because I shared it with everyone. I said, look, this is the ideal plant. He arrived in a plain white pot. And I was like, where's my zebra pot? And they were like, oh, we've sold out. So lots of people are somewhere in the world enjoying the zebra pot, but it's not me. So we've got a plain white pot for our lovely plant. So sorry about that. If I ever find a zebra pot, I will replace this one. So sleep disturbances, concentration problems, social functioning, self-efficacy concerning fatigue, that is, am I able to do things because of my fatigue, and pain severity. So those were the 5 things they identified as being determinants as to why we have fatigue. I'm going to add in there probably deconditioning, poor I hate the word biomechanics, but poor movement patterns, expending too much energy every day to literally hold ourselves up. So I'm going to put that in there, muscle tone, postural tone, that I think needs to go in there that wasn't in there. Yes, someone's saying yes to all of those 5 things. Yeah, so this was the first ever study apparently into fatigue and the possible reasons for it in EDS. And what they describe fatigue is, and I think this is pretty good, because I often try to describe it to people and I end up saying it feels like jet lag, when you're just so out of it. So they determine it as fatigue can be defined as an overwhelming sense of tiredness, lack of energy, and feelings of exhaustion, and it is not the same as muscle weakness. And I think that's really, really important, because it's not like, oh, I'm tired because I've spent 5 hours gardening and my muscles feel tired and weak. It's not that, is it? I think we'll all agree it's something very, very different when we're talking about this kind of fatigue. Okay, so that's how they defined it in this study. I picked out a few other things that I thought were interesting. So 99% of the patients reported musculoskeletal pain as number 1 of their most 3 important complaints. So pain was first. Dislocations was second, 63%, and 57% said fatigue. So those were the top 3 that were identified as the most sort of disturbing symptoms people were suffering with. But it says here that 70% of EDS patients suffer from severe fatigue, and patients who are severely fatigued are more impaired and report a higher level of psychological distress. So this all came out of this questionnaire that people had to fill in. And, I can totally relate to that, because if you're suffering from fatigue, everything seems so much harder. And if that is, that then increases our anxiety, our stress levels. So yes, that psychological distress, I can totally relate to. So pain was often more spontaneously reported than fatigue, but fatigue has a larger impact than pain on daily functioning. So I don't know if you would agree with that. That's what they've concluded here. Therefore, fatigue and pain should be preferably evaluated collectively and addressed simultaneously in symptomatic treatment. And I don't know about you, but I do think, thank you, yes, Sue agrees with that, thank you. I do think that fatigue is often the neglected bit. People don't talk about the fatigue, do they? They talk about, pain and treatments for pain and this and that, but nobody, I say that one's 13 years old now, but nobody considers the fatigue in their treatment. Hi, Ian. So I've got a more recent paper here, which, as I say, Dr. Hakim and some other people, Dr. Alan Pochinki, I always say his name wrong, I'm so sorry. They did a more recent paper in 2017. But they say here, there have been no large trials into the management of fatigue in EDS. Now that was 6 years ago. I don't know if that's changed now. I couldn't find any research on it. So they're describing it: persistent or recurrent fatigue that has been present for more than 6 months, not the result of ongoing exertion, not alleviated by rest. And that's the hard thing to explain, isn't it, to people? Going to rest, having a good night's sleep, isn't really going to help, unfortunately. So it's not about that. And resulting in substantial and impairment in the ability to engage in normal levels of activity. So yes, I think we would all agree with that. And there was just one thing here on the advice. Again, no known treatment or cure for fatigue per se, but sleep management, rest and relaxation are key approaches. So we're all about that today. We're all about relaxation techniques. So they're saying exercise during the day to promote good sleep, and relaxation techniques, establishing a relaxing bedtime routine, and just seeing if there's anything else there. What else did I see? Yeah, so various recommendations. Relaxation, try to avoid complete rest as the only management during a setback or a relapse. So they're saying if we just do total bed rest, that might not be the best thing, which is kind of what I want to address today, because on those days where we are really tired and we are in bed, are there things that we could do so that we are moving even though we're in a very fatigued state? So that's what I kind of want to address today. But it is important, and this is what I had to learn. It is important that patients rest when tired. See, I never did. I would just keep going, and then I would crash, and then I would be out for a few days. And so it wasn't serving me, it wasn't serving my clients very well, because I then had to cancel appointments for people. So learning to rest was a big learning curve for me, and this is what they recommend here. It's important that we rest when we're tired. Don't push through periods of severe fatigue. So that's good, right? That's good advice. So progressive muscle relaxation, that's what we're going to try today. Visualization, and we do lots of that in my classes and in the Zebra Club, and other techniques to help. Massage, if any of you do massage, meditation, and as you know, I'm a huge fan of meditation. Yoga, they say there, but I'm going to put Pilates based movement as well, and music or art therapy. And I know a lot of our Zebra Club members do a lot of art. We have a lot of arty, creative people in the Zebra Club, so I get to hear all about the wonderful things that they're doing. So that was the research that I found. I couldn't find anything else really about EDS. So yeah, someone's saying, yeah, for the artists. Yes, absolutely. It's very relaxing. I think that's why I photograph a lot of flowers. I'm not a photographer by any means, but you know, just being there and looking at the nature, it's very, very soothing for the nervous system. So with all that in mind, and we've just heard that relaxation, visualization, progressive muscle relaxation techniques can all be very helpful in the management of fatigue, I think we should do some movement. As I say, total opposite to last week. Last week we were standing up and we were sitting and we were doing our leg exercises and we were getting energized. Today we're staying low to the ground. So if you are in bed, or you want a routine that you can keep and do for those tired days, this is it. So I hope you like it. There might be a little bit of child's pose type, puppy pose things coming in, but generally it's stay low on the ground and let's just gently move our bodies. Because, you know, in the movement we are going to maintain some muscle tone, some postural tone. So we don't want to go right down that road of a totally deconditioned place. So I think it's really nice that we can do some gentle movement. So shall we get started? Again, we don't need any equipment, but you might want some sort of head cushion to support your head. Make sure you're comfortable, make sure you're warm enough. I have got a yoga block. You might want something to sit on. We are going to do a little bit of sitting at the end. So I'm just going to adjust my camera so you can see my mat. Hopefully that's okay. Move you a little bit. Okay, so lost my internet for a second. Sorry guys, it just lost me. Hope you're all still there. Yeah, so don't do anything you don't want to do. Enjoy, look after yourselves. So let's come and lie down. I'll keep an eye on that, make sure I don't cut out again. Let me just... Oh, okay. You were waiting. Oh, sorry. We just lost connection for a moment, so I thought everyone had lost. Right, let's get settled. So get yourself comfy. And bent legs takes the pressure off the spine, but if you prefer long legs and it doesn't hurt your back, then that's absolutely fine too. So let's just rest our hands somewhere on our body. You might want one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, you might want both hands, whatever works, yeah, depending on your shoulders, whatever feels nice. I'm just going to put one hand on my heart and one hand on my belly. And just go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a moment to just notice the breath. And just feel it coming and going. Let it come to you. So take the stress out of breathing. We're not going to do too much of this, because I know some of us struggle with just focusing on the breath. But let the breath come to you. I often visualize it like the waves on a beach. Yeah, the waves coming in, and then the waves being taken away. Because there's a very natural rhythm to that. And it's very soothing. You know, if you just sit and watch the sea, it's very, very soothing. So just letting that come and go. And just noticing any responses that you might be having. So on that exhale is when gravity can draw us into the ground. Yeah, so can you tune into that softening, that release that the exhale gives us? It's such a lovely thing when we start to feel the pull of gravity from underneath us. We're not pushing, we don't have to push. That force is already there. And it's going to draw us down. It's going to widen our pelvis. It's going to widen our ribs. It's going to widen our chest. We're going to take up more space, which is a nice thing to do. Just 2 more rounds of breath in your own time. Remember that when you're breathing, the person, if there was somebody sitting next to you, they shouldn't be able to hear you breathing. So we don't need to take in a lot of nostril air. Yeah, that's quite stressful. So see if you can, and you shouldn't even be able to hear your breath. That was something I had to learn because I was a very nasally breather. So quiet breath. And then come away from the breath, come back to your physical body. Feel the bones on the ground. Feel the feet, feel the pelvis. And we're just going to start, let's just start at the bottom and let's just start gently lifting a heel. It doesn't have to be big, but just start to move the body. So it might be a tiny little heel, but can you do it slowly so we're not forcing, yeah, we're just gently lifting and then letting the heel come back down. So we're lifting and then letting, it's almost like gravity draws it back down for you. So we don't want to drop to the floor. You know, we're not plopping to the floor. We're letting gravity draw us down with control. But we also start to get our little calf pump working while we do this. So it's quite nice. If you've got very bendy feet, make sure you're not hyperextending up onto your toes. So it's just a little baby lift. Good. Okay, just do one more. And then just bring your sort of feet and knees together. So don't squeeze them, but just bring them together so you've got kind of one foot here. And see if you can lift both. And if that's too much and it pulls on your back, and you can make it smaller, you can just go back to singles. Okay, so just lifting both and putting them down. And then you're just going to rest and we're going to have our legs together. We're going to take our arms out, palms facing up. And now it's going to be really small. So I'm not going to let my foot come off the floor. I'm just going to rock my pelvis from side to side, just very small. I'll lift this up so you can see. I'm not going very far. My feet are not lifting. Okay, so it's a very little sort of gentle waking up of the pelvic bones, trying to roll straight over the sacrum. So I'm not posteriorly or anteriorly tilting. I'm just trying to roll very gently from side to side. And your knees are going to move. Don't worry about trying to glue them together. Just let everything be a little bit easy. And then just zigzag your feet. So can you zigzag them out to the edge of your mat? So your toes are just spilling off. So your legs are slightly turned out. And we'll just make that a little bit bigger. But I'm still not taking my feet off the floor. So they're moving a little bit, but I'm not sort of going into these full-on stretches. So I'm still rocking my pelvis. And I want to rock the bones from side to side. And just mobilize my hip joints a little bit, but not too much, yeah? We want it nice and soft. We want to promote a bit of relaxation through the tissue. And we don't want anything too complicated, too strenuous, because many of us, as that paper said, concentration, the brain fog, etc. And then just come to stillness. So we've still got wide legs, toes are still spilling off, palms are up. Can you sense the stillness? You know, the ancient yogis used to talk about the movement of stillness, which I think is beautiful. So even when we're still, can you feel that there's things happening, there's changes happening. So the body is never ever perfectly still, but it's a lovely place to hang out. Now from there, let's zigzag our feet back in, so we get a little bit of foot mobility, and we're just going to take one leg up and give it a little hug. I wouldn't hold on to the kneecap, I'd either hold behind the thigh or the shin, but we don't want to be pulling on our kneecaps, especially if you've got some hypermobility there. So just a little hug. So now we're starting to lengthen the low back. Still breathing, conscious breathing, letting the exhale take my pelvis. Feeling that weight in through the back of my pelvis. And then I'm just going to lower that down. Again, if you've got any kind of hip impingement, you could take it out to the side. That might be more comfortable, or you might just want to hold it a bit further away. So don't do this if it's agony on the front of your hip. And then you're going to breathe and you're going to let the pelvis drop away with the out breath. So just feeling. One side might feel totally different to the other. And then we're going to pop that leg back down. So if you've got a big head cushion and you're going to do the next one, just maybe get rid of the big head cushion. So let's just start rolling the pelvis forward and back. So we're working up the chains. We started at our feet, and now we're getting up to the pelvis, and we're just mobilizing it. So you can see I'm just doing my pelvic tilts forward and back. And now I'm going to do a little baby pelvic hover. So today might not be the day that I want to do a full-on bridge. I might not feel like that. But what I might want to do is just work my legs a little bit. So if I do a little tilt back, can I stand into my feet and just hover? So just like a hand under my bottom, but my legs are working. And then just rest it back down. So pelvic hovers. You're of course welcome to do a bridge if you want to do a bridge. But I'm just thinking of those really tired days where I don't really want to do a big bridge pattern. I just want to wake up my legs, get a bit of blood flow, feel the muscles working a little bit, but not stressing out. Remember, we don't want to be pushing through. We have got to respect the fatigue because it, tends to win. If you push through, it comes back and bites you pretty badly. So let's just respect it. And down, lovely. And then let it rest. So pelvis resting again. Beautiful. Now from there, let's take our vertical forearms and just float the arms up, leaving the shoulders behind. So now the ribs are drawn back into the floor. And we're just going to do some wrist circles. So we did some ankle-y movement. So now we're just doing some wrist circles, going in both directions. So that's just going to move the forearm. This is going to impact the shoulder, just doing this. And then we're going to just do a bit of arm opening, so supine arm opening. So think of opening your chest and taking the arms as far as you want to go. So if you can get to the floor, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you haven't arched your back and it's not hurting. So you can come into this T position and really feel the width across your chest. If you don't want to do that, obviously stop wherever you want. You don't have to come here. So we're wide. And let's come back to our breath. So how does that feel? Is there any tightness? Is there restriction here? But again, we're getting a bit of breath into the chest wall, bit of energy coming in. And then if you don't want to lift up from there, because I know this can be quite challenging, let's bend the elbows so it's not quite a big lift, and goes up again from there. Okay, so you don't have to go straight up. So let's do that one more time. We're going to open. Again, knuckles to the floor if you can. Doesn't matter if you can't. Think of that 360 expansion of the rib cage as you inhale. Exhale, gravity takes us down. And then we bend the elbows and we go back up from there. And just feel the weight of those shoulders there. Now, from here, I'm actually going to go into a bit of a starfish, because I think that's a great exercise to do on the bed or on the floor. Easier if you've got a slidey floor, but I'm going to slide one leg along the floor, opening the hip and taking the opposite arm overhead. Keeping the pelvis heavy, I haven't arched my back. And then I'm going to slide them back in. Okay, so we do the other one. So sliding out. So what we're looking for is a sense of opening through the hip. Yeah, if we're fatigued, we haven't been moving as much, these guys are going to get tight. So let's open up the quads. We talked about last week, didn't we, that dominance of the front chain. So here's a chance to open up the front chain and then slide it back in. So really deepening the crease of the hip to come back in. Let's do one more each side. So I'm sliding out. I'm not forcing. The other arm just stays up unless that's uncomfortable for you. And then coming back. And we do one more. Slide it out. Really think about the space. Can you breathe into the spaces? And then come back. And I'm just going to lower my arms down and just find a comfortable place. Now I'm going to straighten, again, if it's comfortable for your back. If you can straighten both legs, go ahead and straighten both legs. And you can put your hands on your hips. And we're going to do a little bit of pelvic movement. So gently, think of sliding one leg away. So you kind of get a bit of a hip hike on one side and a hip drop on the other. And then draw this leg back. So it's very gentle. I haven't left the floor. And I slide the other leg away. So it might be a teeny tiny movement, but I'm trying to, again, lengthen a little bit and mobilize the pelvis. So when you slide the leg away, one leg's obviously going in front of the other foot, this hip is going to go down and the opposite hip's going to come up laterally. They're not coming off the floor. And then back. And then slide. And you might find that can be quite challenging if you've got tightness around the pelvis. But it does get your glutes working a little bit, which is a good thing. And then we're going to slide back in, one leg at a time. And we're just going to again bring our feet and knees together. Okay, so check that you haven't tilted your pelvis to do that. Palms can be up or down, totally up to you. Now, very slowly, we're going to take one leg out to the side. So those of us with very mobile hips who are happy to just collapse, or some of you I know can get to the floor. So we're going to 10 and 2 on a clock. So we're just opening the hip a little bit and coming back. Okay, so not going to end of range, keeping the opposite hip nice and heavy. And this can be so slow. And you can pause and breathe. It's not a race. Just really feel the bones moving. That's it. And then if you can do both together. Again, no collapsing, because what happens if you collapse, it's going to pull your pelvis forward and you're going to have a big arch in your back. So pelvis heavy, think of widening pelvic floor, opening the inner thighs, but no collapsing. And then drawing back together. So we get a bit of leg strength, even though we're lying down. We are mobilizing hip joints, we are working those inner thigh muscles. And one more. Just make sure your shoulders and your jaw haven't got involved. Lovely. Good, really nice. Okay, now from there we're going to roll over actually. So take your time, just have a look at my little, yeah, we're going to come onto a sort of a puppy pose. So we're not going to do a 4-point kneeling, unless you don't like being down here, okay, then of course go ahead and do quadruped, but I'm coming down onto puppy pose because sometimes being up on all fours can be quite tiring. So we're in our sort of sticking our bottoms in the air, puppy pose, okay, but again, perfectly okay to be up here if you don't like this. And then from puppy pose, see if we can wag our tail a little bit. So can we move the pelvis from side to side? Again, it's not a big movement. I'm not moving, if you notice I'm not moving my upper body, I'm not rocking about. I'm trying to just move the pelvis to get a bit of energy around the base of the spine. Again, if this is annoying your shoulders, remember you can do this on a chair. Again, if it's easier for you on your hands, please go up onto your hands. And then from here, let's just try and do a little baby cat. I mean, it's going to be small. Look how small it is. I have barely moved much. And then I'm coming out of it. Okay, so up here it's going to look like a bigger cat, but neither involve pushing. Okay, so we're trying to get a bit of spinal movement in. Again, really nice, get the spinal fluid moving, but we're not pushing, we're not forcing. Okay, and then those of you who can do child's pose or like child's pose, remember you can put cushions here if your pelvis doesn't reach your feet. Do whatever you need to do. Obviously don't do a deep one if your knees don't like it. But whatever version of a child's pose you like, take that now, whatever that is, okay? And then we're just going to rest. So if your head goes to a cushion, or you might want a block or something to put your head on, if you've got any necky issues. So whatever you need to do, but we're resting. And we're just going to breathe into our back body. So now I'm kind of squashed in my front. It's much easier for me to breathe into the back of my ribs. As we exhale, can we allow the weight of the pelvis to release more? Not because you pushed it down, I didn't push it, but I'm waiting for gravity to take my pelvis. So very nice if you've been in bed, you've got a tight lower back. Now, from there, I'm going to do a diagonal child's pose. So I'm just going to walk my hands over to one side, because now I can do a sort of a side bend. I don't want to stand up and do side bends, but here I can get my lateral flexion and I can breathe into one side of the ribs and feel that expansion. And it feels very nice. Open up, because what we don't want to do is get all stiff and sticky around the thorax. Most of us already have tight thoraxes, so let's just, sorry I've swapped, I've gone to the other side, so just move over to the other side Might feel different, might be easier, but most of us are probably going to feel some tightness somewhere. And then coming back. Good. Now very slowly walk yourself back up out of your child's pose. Take your time if you're feeling dizzy. And we're going to come and sit. Now, if you want to sit on a yoga block because you've got tight hips, nothing wrong with sitting on a block, but you can't see me now, but you guys can sit on the yoga block if you need to. Let me just adjust that a little bit so you can see me a bit better. There we go. So, come and find a comfortable seat. If you want to sit on a chair, whatever works, you don't have to sit cross-legged. Just rest your hands on your knees if you can, palms face down. And just take a moment to again feel, if you can, the exhale wants to draw the pelvis down. So there's a weightiness coming down into the pelvis. And that exhale softens the outer shell and allows my pelvis to become heavier. Okay, so rotations I find are always really nice for creating a bit of energy. So again, not about who can twist the most, but we're going to just put one hand on the opposite knee and just do a little gentle rotation. The head can follow you. Okay, so I'm not trying, I'm not pulling myself around. I'm just wanting to move a little bit. Soft shoulders. Try not to lean when we do it. Oftentimes we end up leaning. And then come back and spiral the other way. And just breathe. And then we're going to come back to center. And we're going to do a little pelvic tilt. So we did them lying down. I'll do it sideways so you can see. So we're just going to tilt backwards a little bit. So again, exactly the same as we did on the floor. And then I'm going to come forward. And I'm just going to lean forward a little bit like I'm looking on the floor at something down there. And then I'm going to lean back, tilting my pelvis. So I am rounding. It's a bit like our puppy pose again. And then coming forward. And then if it's okay with your hips, and if it's not, just carry on with the forward and back, we're just going to do a circle. So let me tap that. So we're going to go to the side, and then I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to circle my spine. Doesn't have to be big, it might be really small like this. Okay, and think of your spine just doing this beautiful dance. Okay, it might be bigger, you might be doing a bigger circle. Really depends on your hip joint, so it shouldn't hurt, shouldn't feel uncomfortable, so make it smaller. And if you really don't like it, just stick with the forward and back. So just allowing, really feel, can you feel the fluidity of your spine? Let's reverse it. So can you feel how we're moving? It's so gentle in the movement, but it's going to give us an awful lot of benefit to mobilize the spine without having to be jumping up and down and doing all sorts of dynamic things like we did last week. That was very dynamic, and today is a little bit gentler. Beautiful. And then come back to the center, and we're just going to interlace our fingers. Okay, so just do some gentle wrist circles here. Just see how that feels. And then what we're going to do is start to walk our way up as we're circling our wrists. So we've kind of gone all the way up the spine now, so now we're getting to the arms and the hands. So we started at the feet, and then we're coming down. We are going to finish with a little gentle body scan, muscle relaxation technique at the end. So once we've worked through all the joints in our body, we will have a nice little lie down and a chance to let go of any residual tension that we might have. There we go. So that's mobilizing the wrists. Okay, and then again, if it's comfortable for your wrists, we can come into prayer position. So we try to kind of open the palm of the hand and just hold that there. So thumbs can be touching your heart or your sternum, shoulders wide. So try not to let them roll forward. Try and feel that weightiness into the back body. And again, don't squeeze, but just a very gentle pressure. We talked about this last week, opening the foot last week. Remember we said the foot would open, I think Heather said, opens like a flower. So as you press your hands gently together, imagine them opening from the palm of the hand out. So I'm not squeezing, but I'm trying to expand and open my hands. And then from there, we're going to reach up like a rocket, straight up. And get that length. Try and open your waist, open the back of your waist. And then we're going to widen the collarbones and come back down, hand to heart. Again, you don't have to go all the way, you might be doing a baby one. So I'm reaching up, lengthening my fingers, opening my armpits, opening my side body. I can breathe here, and I can widen as I come back. Feeling the scapula, the shoulder blades drawing back down. Collarbones hopefully still wide, they haven't rolled in. Let's see if we can do that one more time. No squeezing here. Don't put a lot of pressure on your fingers, right? They're just connecting. So we reach up, feel the waist muscles. Can you feel the waist lengthen? And then widen your chest. Open the front of the chest. And just feel that. I don't know what it is, I love prayer position because it really helps me connect into my back body. And then just release, bring your palms up. Okay, so just to finish before we lie down and do our body scan, you can have palms in or up actually, depends how you feel. Let's just do one dumb waiter. So we take the arm out to the side, so a little bit of scapular control, and back in. And the other one. So again, try not to lean, because if there's tightness, we'll kind of move away from it. So if your range is smaller, that's okay, but try and stay balanced on your pelvis. Remember, this isn't a hand exercise. This is about rotating the upper arm bone. What I found tends to happen, because I'm guilty of it too, is if I can't access these rotator cuff muscles, I'll start doing this. And actually it's much harder if you stay at a right angle. So just check that your hands are not creeping up, and can you maintain a right angle? Really useful little tip, because then we're getting into the right muscles rather than cheating up here somewhere. Okay, and just do one double one. Open that chest again. Breathe. And then rotate the arm bones back. One last time. Rotate the arm bones. Open the chest. And back we come. And then just rest. So we didn't do anything of the neck. Again, conscious that lots of people have neck instability and issues, so I'm not going to do too much on the neck, but if it's comfortable for you, we can just gently, and again, I'm not forcing, I'm not trying to I'm just gently moving my head from side to side. But if that isn't right for your neck, please don't do it. Definitely don't ever recommend pulling on the head. It's a little too much for us. And then just close the eyes. And we're going to, as I say, we're going to move back down to the floor. So I want you to get warm and comfy. And we're just going to do, as they recommend, some of that muscle relaxation. So we're just going to do a little body scan together just to finish off. And then if you want to stay there and just enjoy that moment at the end, then please don't get up. Please stay there and enjoy that lovely place. So let's come and lie down. So just a 5-minute little moment together. We're not going to move, so you can get yourself comfy. And we're just going to do a little body scan. So again, legs can be straight. If you've got a bolster with you and you've got something under your knees, that's super nice. So you can just really let the legs relax. You can also let your knees roll in together. Whatever works, okay? Now is the moment of total relaxation. Okay, so releasing muscle tension, yeah? Very important if you're dealing with fatigue. Calming the nervous system, very important as well, in my opinion. So wherever you are, wherever you found yourself, blankets, whatever you'd like, let's close our eyes. And we're actually going to start, we started at the feet, now we're going to go all the way back down. So we're actually going to start at the head. And I'm going to invite you to soften your eye sockets and soften your eyeballs and soften the muscles behind your eyes. And you may have the sensation of your eyes falling back inside your head, which is very nice. Let go of that tension around the eyes. And someone was chatting today in the Zebra Club about frowning, and I think I said something a while ago about how we frown and we hold a lot of tension in our foreheads. So can you soften your forehead so that that relaxes the muscles of the scalp, so your hair can be softer, the skin of your scalp can be softer, and then that's going to run all the way down into your ears. And just see if you can soften your ears. And there's these really deep, well, we know the vagus nerve is coming out of there. Yeah, and then you've got these deep fascial connections with the jaw. So can you soften the ears and invite the jaw to soften? Coming down through the jaw into the throat. Actually, before we leave the head and neck, can you allow gravity to really take the weight of your head? We often say, don't we, that our heads feel too heavy to hold up. So now that we're lying down, can you really let the weight of your head rest? And I know that's really hard, because I used to find it incredibly hard. So the head is fallen away, leaving the chest to open. We're really talking front body now, aren't we? Different to last week. So can we allow the pecs, those muscles at the front of your chest, to soften so that the sternum has more space and you can breathe more easily? And then travelling through the rib cage, softening each of those ribs so that the diaphragm can start to move in a jelly-like fashion, like the jellyfish that it is. And I know so many of us hold tension around our diaphragms, which obviously inhibits our breathing. And if we're not breathing properly, is that contributing to our fatigue? I don't know, but I'm sure it's not helping. So let the diaphragm be soft. The lining of the diaphragm that goes underneath the ribs, let that be soft. Into the abdomen, soft belly, no gripping. You may feel your belly rise and fall with your breath. Coming down into the pelvis, into the depths of the pelvis, the density of the pelvis. Relaxing the pelvic floor. Can you soften the pelvic floor? And that means letting go, which again I know can be really challenging.
the arms resting on the floor, back of the hands touching the knuckles, touching the ground, palms are soft. And then the front of the thighs. Can we invite the thigh bones to drop? If your legs are bent, can they drop into the pelvis? And then the softening of our calves, the softening of the front and the back of the foot. And just pick up your toes for a minute, or wiggle your toes, because we know that many of us hold a lot of tension down in our feet. So wiggle your toes, and then just let them rest. And then I'm going to invite you to soften the skin all over your body. I think we hold a lot of tension just below the skin. That first layer of fascia. Can you soften your skin? And when you soften the skin, does it make any difference to how you feel? To the density? Do you let go more? There we have the movement of stillness. It's a beautiful place to hang out. Just feeling our own bodies, the weight, but also the quietness. And you might have areas that are twitching or trying to grip again, and that's normal, that's okay. Just invite them to be quiet, to soften again. Now if you're going to stay and just enjoy that stillness, then please do. But you know, the weird thing about all of this is that the more we learn to let go, the more we release this muscular tension that we hold, the more energy gets released. That energy gets stuck in that tension, and the more we can let go of that habitual tension, the weird thing is, it seems counterintuitive, but the weird thing is you actually get more energy. It's all about that balance again. We were talking about balance last week, but if I've got too much tension, the whole body is tension on the move. I'm not saying that there's not tension in the body. There is tension in the body. We need tension in the body. But if there's too much of the wrong kind of tension, that's going to drain me of energy, right? It's going to be hard work. Everything seems so much more difficult and fatiguing and tiring because I've got all this excess tension. So doing things where we're actually recognizing that and then letting it go is actually a release of energy. So although we've been lying down and we might feel quite relaxed and maybe even sleepy, we'll actually feel more energized afterwards. So please don't rush up if you are enjoying that, and let me know how you feel afterwards. Whether you do feel that actually by letting some of that tension go, you've actually energized yourself. So we've really kind of come full circle again back to the energy. But I hope you enjoyed that. I would certainly feel a little bit more energized than when I started, because fatigue in the afternoon. So thank you all so much. Really big class today. I really appreciate you coming. So that was week 3 of EDS and HSD. Feeling so much calmer. Oh, thank you. Clearer. Lovely. Needed that. Thank you. Lovely. Oh, thank you so much, everyone. I'm so glad that was beneficial. Beautiful. Oh, good. So we're all feeling more relaxed. I am too, actually. You can probably hear my voice, my tone has dropped because now I've dropped into a little bit more
sympathetic nervous system, so a little bit lower, a little bit calmer. And that is going to help us, as I say, energize us in a weird way. It might not feel like it now because we're just feeling really chilled and lovely. That felt wonderful, beautiful, lovely. Yeah, letting the head go can be so nice because we work so hard, don't we, with our instability up here to hold our head in place, and actually allowing the head to really rest allows these muscles to let go. And as I say, you then feel that you can actually maybe do some strengthening work with them because they feel, remember what I always say, you can't strengthen a muscle that's already tense. That's not going to work. So if we actually give them a moment to say, oh, actually I've let go, it feels much better, then I can maybe go and do some of my neck exercises, you know, my lifting up, or if I do isometrics, or it's really hard to strengthen a muscle that's already grippy and tight. So progressive muscle relaxation, letting it go, can be really, really, really beneficial so that we can then move on to do some of the strengthening work that we obviously also need. So thank you again for coming. Next week is week 4. Already the month of May is disappearing. It's on Tuesday because we've got a Zebra Club meetup on Thursday. So we've got a meeting on Thursday. So I'm here Tuesday. Sorry, it's only 4 days, but it's a nice one. It's sleep. I'll try and find some research into sleep and EDS. But please come 5 o'clock on Tuesday, the 22nd maybe. But I will be here 5 o'clock. We're talking sleep. And I really appreciate you all joining me for this EDS HSD Awareness Month. And I will see you next week. Have a lovely rest of your day or a lovely evening, and take care, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye bye.